To me, I mean, do you agree that this is probably the most high stakes conversation that we're going to have as a community? Because I can't think of a bigger issue when it comes to privacy and kind of constitutional protections than a CBDC where the wrong levers are pulled, right? Where the Chinese levers are pulled in the US versus some of what the parameters that you're talking about. So, I guess the question that always comes up for me is, okay, if we advance this, what protects the people from a couple of rogue regulators, not naming any names, but we know that this can happen, from pulling the levers to make this fully surveilled, permissioned, political, and actually the worst possible flavor of a CBDC versus something that is actually going to be an upgrade over the existing system.
Right. So again, the Chinese model is one where censorship and surveillance is built in. And believe me, that's not going to stay within Chinese borders. I predict, and you'll hear me now on stage, mark my words, within the end of the decade, there will be a digital bolivar, and it will basically be a white label version of the digital yuan. And it won't end with that country. Many countries around the world desire to surveil their citizens, and the available technology will be provided to them by the People's Bank of China. The world is going to be a series of decentralized, where they're not suppressed by governments, as in China, but also centralized digital money systems. And whenever you create that centralized system, you create massive honeypots of information that can be purloined, that can be abused by the controllers of the system, whether those are private actors or government actors. And we all need to be concerned about that future. We need to raise our voices, and we cannot fall into, I say, a false choice that say, well, let just the private sector do it. Because how's that worked out in free speech? We've seen and we know that our government, and it doesn't even need to get political, politicians will lean on social media platforms to suppress certain speech. Well, it's not a big intellectual jump to say they'll do the same thing with private sector stablecoin operators, to lean on them to ban certain activities. And the biggest disappointment to me in that stablecoin bill is it doesn't prevent the government from doing it. So if you're worried about privacy in CBDC, one should be just as worried about it in anyone. And whether that's even, that may be a digital euro, a digital pound, we've got to be concerned about. So the only way to fix this, I think, is technologically. The systems that are utilized, whether by governments or stablecoin operators, should be operationally transparent, and the obligations of non-censorship, non-surveillance should be built in and observable to all users of this.
Is this simply